In the news this week, Melbourne wins the AFL Grand Final as Perth delivers a blockbuster season-ending decider.
The Royal Show also hits the ground as City Slickers line up to get a taste of the country life, and supporters mounting on proposals to reduce Fremantle's homelessness. Plus, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Sarah Smith.
Good evening. Perth has delivered an epic finish to the AFL season, turning a once-in-a-lifetime grand final for WA. Melbourne has beaten the Western Bulldogs 140 points to 66 points at Optus Stadium to take home the Premiership Cup.
This is crazy. This is a real big turnout from the Perth folks. You made our month in Perth incredibly special. The prelim was a sea of red and blue, and yesterday was good as well.
I hope they're sitting at home so proud of their team. I know I've spoken to some close friends, they're crying. They're so proud of everyone that's involved, but as I said, we're bringing the cup home, we're going to celebrate with them, and we're going to do it again for them.
Reporter Nelson Liu joins us, and Nelson, it was an experience WA footy fans won't forget, wasn't it?
That's absolutely right, Ivan, and Perth has certainly delivered a blockbuster AFL Grand Final, bringing the excitement of the season-ending decider from Victoria to WA. I spoke with AFL CEO Gillon McLachlan, and here's what he had to say about the Perth Grand Final experience.
Clearly, for those lucky enough to be here, it'll be an incredible day, but for those watching at home, millions around Australia, it'll be a day where they can relax and celebrate. Best game in the world and two best teams this year.
What are you expecting out of the experience here in Perth?
Just energy and you know, people being alive, leaning into this contest, celebrating sport, community, people coming together and coming around the tribal nature of our game.
Given the situation with regards to COVID, will we ever have this situation happen ever again?
I hope not, in the sense that I hope that we get this COVID pandemic under control, or a set of settings where we can go on with our lives. But you know, we don't know where it's going, and you know, it's a silver lining of this that we can be playing a grand final in Perth for the Australian Rules fans here and in this great stadium.
Do you expect to see the game back at the G next year?
That's my expectation, yes. We've got a contract there, and you know, I think it'd be pretty tough for Victorians if we went back there next year.
Questions remain about whether a grand final move will be done again next year, but right now it's anybody's guess. It's back to you.
Thank you, Nelson. Now, if you're not a footy fan, then the IGA Royal Show is another showstopper that clashed right on during this epic weekend. Hundreds and thousands of Western Australians lined up to enter the Claremont Showgrounds, as farmers hoped that this year's festival will give city people a taste of country life. Melissa Thorne reports.
For those that prefer furry animals over footy fun, the 2021 Perth Royal Show is the place to be, as thousands flock to the Claremont Showgrounds this weekend. Yet the heart and soul of the Royal Show is not, in fact, rides or fast food or the hundreds of show bags on display, but really the farmers and animals that bring a slice of country life to city living.
I'm happy with the crowds. I thought Grand Final day there wouldn't be many people here, but it's packed. Yeah, they are curious, but we're becoming divorced from the natural world. I see that all the time. People are scared of guinea pigs, rabbits and everything else like that. So this is good, brings them in, gets to touch and hold them.
Mr. Tony Seabrook, President of the Pastoralists and Graziers Association, explained the essence of the show.
It's all about animals. It always is. And look, there are a lot of people that go to it, a huge effort to bring their cattle and their sheep, their lambs and other smaller sort of hobby industries to show. And it's great. And I say to people, take your kids along and go and have a look at the agricultural side of it.
The Royal Show has been held at Claremont Showgrounds for more than 100 years. Last year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the show was cancelled, and this year it's back, but with a few key differences to keep everyone COVID safe. This year tickets cannot be purchased at the gates, and COVID vaccinations are available at a walk-in clinic. With food demonstrations, sheepdog trials, fireworks, and of course animals of all shapes and sizes on display, there is so much to see and do this year at the 2021 Perth Royal Show.
I hope we get lots of happy people and lots of crowds, and we're just lucky to live in WA.
Melissa Thorne, WAMN News.
An Aboriginal activist has expressed his support for Fremantle mayoral candidate Maria Vucic's fight against homelessness. His comments come after Ms Vucic announced her youth and homelessness engagement hub policies exclusively on this program last week. Nullamaya CEO Mervyn Eads joined me earlier. Mervyn, thanks for your time. What do you make of Maria Vucic's homelessness policies?
Oh, it's a great idea. Any It's a great idea, Sarah. Any initiative to address homelessness in any way, shape or form is great, but some of our ideas is really good.
Ms Vusic is proposing a homelessness and youth engagement hub with culturally sensitive, self-care and job readiness programs for homeless people. Do you believe city councils can deliver services like that?
It's about will, and the political will and all the rest of it. They can deliver those types of services such as hubs and one-stop shops and that, but it's got to be the political will, and the shires and everyone from the top down. But an initiative like that is great, and when they start talking about youth and all people homeless and that, it's something that needs to be spoken about, and initiatives need to be designed and erected for our people.
What sort of differences do you think the program will deliver for people in Fremantle?
In the Fremantle area, it'll make a great difference, as we've seen the Fremantle tent city down in Fremantle there, and how many of our mob and all mob, multicultural, was on the park there staying, and it'll make a huge difference having a hub in Fremantle, and a hub in Midland, Armidale, Joondalup. These hubs like this should be everywhere, and it's a great idea. And when they talk about services working around them and with them and for them, they need to go outside the box, because a lot of the services that are supposed to be and have been funded in that in the past, they're under-delivering. A lot of money is being spent, but it's being spent with people that have no idea of the situation of homelessness.
Mervyn, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Sarah.
As a consequence of the infected truck driver incidents, the Premier declared that WA is ramping up requirements for truckies. From midnight on October 24th, transport, freight and logistic workers travelling from and through high and extreme risk areas into WA will require their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine and their second dose by the 24th of December. In relation to extreme areas, another state has joined New South Wales in the extreme risk category. As COVID cases increase in Victoria, from 12:01 a.m. Wednesday, September 29th, Victoria will be elevated to an extreme risk category. The Premier urged all Western Australians in Victoria with a G2G pass to return immediately.
Queensland's Biloela family have been granted an extension to their temporary visas for another 12 months. Immigration Minister Alex Hawke confirmed that 3 members of the Tamil family would receive the visas. They've been given to Father Nades, Mother Priya and their oldest daughter Kopika. Their youngest daughter Tharnika was not granted a visa, which means the family will not be able to return to their former home in Queensland. The decision came just after the family was granted a 3-month bridging visa, allowing them to stay in the country till Christmas.
The state opposition has continued to slam Attorney General John Quigley for accepting a helicopter ride with Crown Perth Director John Poyton. Liberal leader David Honey has criticised Mr Quigley for not declaring the ride, which was provided by Mr Poyton, a witness in the New South Wales inquiry into Crown's suitability to hold a casino licence in Sydney. Premier Mark McGowan has dismissed any accusation involving the ride, but Dr Honey says Mr Quigley breached the Ministerial Code of Conduct.
Huawei's Chief Financial Officer Meng Wanzhou will return to China after spending almost 3 years in house arrest for allegedly lying to HSBC about Huawei's business dealings in Iran. Prosecutors struck a plea deal that would release Ms Meng in 2022. Her detention was the subject of extensive negotiation between China and the United States. The election in Germany is underway, with Angela Merkel set to be replaced as Chancellor following the announcement of her retirement. Ms Merkel has been in power since 2005 and is the 3rd longest-serving German Chancellor. Today's election will determine who will take over the country's leadership during the uncertainty of COVID-19.
Several weeks ago, I shared with you about my jab journey. Tonight, I'm happy to tell you that I have received my second dose of Pfizer earlier this week. I would like to use this opportunity to again encourage you and your loved ones to get vaccinated. The fact is that vaccination reduces hospitalisation and the chance of death. With the Delta variant wreaking havoc across the world, it's more important than ever for us to be fully vaccinated, which protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. It's important to look beyond the controversy and accept science. Focus on the facts and not the things that divide us and undermine our health.
I'm really glad to hear you're fully protected, Ivan.
Thank you, Sarah. And if we all do our bit, hopefully we can travel by Christmas.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed.
That's right. And now here's AMAWA spokesperson Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly COVID-19 update and commentary on the New South Wales situation.
Hi, this was an amazing weekend in Western Australia where we saw that the freedom that we have due to the hard work of the community and the border restrictions by the government and taking COVID very seriously meant that we were able to host a grand final. And I think that that is a demonstration of the contrast between where we are in a community that manages to control COVID compared to a community where they just didn't do the hard yards in New South Wales to prevent the limo driver getting it through airborne spread. So let's be very clear that this is an airborne virus, that is very dangerous in all age groups, although less so in younger age groups. We don't know about the long-term harmful effects on children yet, but we do know that about 7% go on to get long-term symptoms. And it's worth controlling it. We've seen New Zealand has record economic growth and that their GDP is now greater than it was before the COVID pandemic. So for economic success, for social success, to maintain our freedoms, we need to keep COVID spread to as close as possible to zero, whilst we get vaccination rates very, very high and institute a range of other measures which are known as Vaccines Plus. And we need to also urgently get our younger age groups vaccinated as well. So we now have positive results for the 5 to 11-year-old group from Pfizer trials in the US. Get those finished and hopefully be able to roll it out to young children as well, because we do know that this is a virus that affects the nervous system, and we don't know in some kids what that's going to mean for the long term. So if you want more information about these particular issues, it's worth having a look at OzSage, that's OZSAGE, online for the independent expert view. This has got some a group of really well-known, well-trusted experts who are independent of government, who are coming forth based on the values of looking after everyone, leaving no one behind, and saying, what does that mean for the settings we can take forward? But I think Western Australia is being a great example to the rest of the country and indeed the world of the advantages of keeping this horrible disease out and then moving to get the other things in place that we'll need for as we open up to more travel, because it is really important to have more travel in a time when it can be safe. But to open up to more travel, we are going to need to protect all of the vulnerable people in our community, particularly the ones who, because of illness or because they're very, very young, cannot yet be vaccinated. Thanks very much for your time.
That's Dr. Andrew Miller, and here's Leo with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. Tonight on 6 News breaking news, New South Wales COVID case numbers continue to trend down as Victoria's go up. Anger boiling over on the streets of Melbourne, but police are set to continue a heavy presence across the CBD, even as they're accused of being too extreme in their attempts to stop protesters. Plus, the threat of aftershocks looms large in Victoria after the state's biggest earthquake on record. We'll speak to a geology professor to find out how to stay safe in the event of another one and bust a common myth. And Melbourne win the AFL Grand Final for the first time since 1964 to the joy of fans, some who've waited their whole life to see it happen, and to the dismay of Bulldog supporters. Our senior reporter Darby Travers is standing by to bring you all the highlights. You can see full details on those stories and plenty more by heading to our YouTube channel. Just search 6NewsAU to find us, or our website 6newsau.com. For now though, guys, it's back to you.
Thanks, Leo. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
From Sarah and myself, we wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for stopping by.